Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Jack, and we are back again, and we just killed Mythic Odyn, so I wanted to kind of take you guys with me on this and kind of just give my thoughts as the fight goes on and as we watch it together. For this fight, I took Apotheosis. Not many people did. I think it's a great pick, as you'll kind of see later on. So, as the fight gets started, I always pre-prep my Sanctify for the very first Horn of Valor that comes out of Himjal, the Guardian. And then, of course, we all try to line up and stuff like that for the shield from Hirjal. From here, this first phase of this fight is pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. You know, not too crazy, not different at all, really, from Heroic until you get to this branding part, where you have to, of course, just like Heroic, run your ad into the nice little slot here. You know, they kill it, but then everybody has to go into their own marker. So, like, my marker just changed into the red, the N marker. So I run over there. I need to get my shield in time, and then when Odyn does his large splash damage, I will be protected from the one shot, at least, of it. So you'll take just the standard damage that you normally would in Mythic. So it's about to come out here in a second. So hits the raid, usual standard amount of damage. Because it's such a long fight, it's about 9 or 10 minutes, I use Symbol of Hope like right here off the pole, so all my healers can save a little bit of mana. A lot of times I just Sanctify into a couple Prayer of Healings. It'd be pretty good. And from here I'm just kind of sitting in downtime, and I'm just kind of preparing for whatever's next. I'm trying to get, you know, pretty inefficient use of my healing, but using my spells nonetheless, because I'm going to be using my Lay Torrent Pot, my Sleeping Potion, as this phase ends. So again, these ads are coming out. People are just going to be dragging them to the right position that they have, and then everybody else will have to get their colors after these guys die. For the Expel Lights, I'm always trying to prep a Serenity for any of the players. We have our add-ons that'll of course mark whoever's going to get hit by it, so having a Serenity there in time is always really good. So I'm running over. I'm going to pick up my my protection, my shield. It's always very important just to know where all the markers, all the positions are going to be. Boss mods will obviously help with that quite a bit. So again, the splash damage comes out. I'm just popping him here. It's not a very efficient him, but I'm not going to be able to use it until much later in the encounter, so I might as well use it there. The phase is, you know, almost over. I'm trying to keep buttons on cooldown and keep whatever healing I have up available. Even though I'm at like 60-ish% in the very, very first phase, this is just a, you know, as this phase ends, there's really nothing to do, so just take a Lay Torrent Pot, and it'll get you almost fully back up in terms of mana, so I'm at like 92% right there. And then the real fight starts. So, of course, the spears are going to be coming out constantly, and they're going to be a constant pain, and I think it's one of the things that you really have to be aware of the entire fight as it's going on. And even working your Apotheosis timings around. So Apotheosis is just coming off cooldown for me, and while it looks like it's kind of a good spot to use it here and there with this burst damage, it's not quite good enough because there's going to be the branding again, where again you have to run to the specific markers. So it's coming out right now, and I have to go and drag my ad into the blue marker. So right off the bat, if I'd used Apotheosis a couple seconds earlier, well, I would have wasted, you know, the last 15-20 seconds of it. So I'm holding on to Apotheosis until after this phase, until after I picked up my color. So I killed my ad, and luckily the same color I have to pick up, and now I'll use Apotheosis in just a second here. So using Apotheosis, of course I always have to be watching my feet. I'm trying to be as mobile on my feet as possible. This is also a good time to use Apotheosis because all of melee will go back into melee. They won't be attacking any of the other ads at this point, so you know where you can Sanctify. It's always very, very strong here. Another thing about Apotheosis in general is it's just such a great spell for this fight, I find, because there's so many different burst damage effects, from like Expel Light, the Here's His Sword, the Horn of Valor in case you clip somebody. Maybe somebody's still going to live if they get hit by the spear, and they'll need to be topped off very quickly. There's just so many good uses of Apotheosis that, as long as you're timing it correctly, you know, it's a great, great ability. And personally, I found it was fantastic to use, you know. And I'm at this point in the fight, I'm way up against the other healers. I'm in great shape. This is just after my Apotheosis, so of course my Apotheosis had a very, very big effect. And I'm getting to the point where I'm already thinking about Divine Hymn coming off cooldown. And while I have, a couple seconds left on it, I need to keep that in the back of my head as I dip in, dip out, and get my shield buff. I'll make sure I link this weak ore in the description that I'm using in the top right above my raid frames. But, of course, getting everything ready, watching the balls, trying to be as aware as possible. Divine Hymn's coming off cooldown, so I'm thinking to myself when I can best use this while not getting hit by the orbs, while making sure that I'm not slacking in my raid mechanics, and keeping everybody alive. What you'll see here is there's kind of these situations where the damage is ample, but the positioning not so much. And finally, once you see those other spears coming way out in the distance, I finally get a very, very good positioning for when I want to use Divine Hymn. So I got a really, really good value out of that. It just extended my lead in healing even more. And we continue on. This part here is, just kind of all about stabilizing. You can really be a lot more patient in the last phase, at least to begin with, because so much of it is just movement. So you'll end up just saving mana here and there because, well, you're moving and you're not really able to cast much in that time. So, but at this point, you really just need to push it as best as you can to get into that last phase. And innervates obviously help out a lot. Symbol, I would say, is absolutely mandatory in this fight. Getting 2 uses out of it is such a nice benefit to your entire healing team, and even just frankly to yourself. You just save a ton of mana, you regen a ton of mana in this time window. It probably is highest HPS to take Light of the Naro, of course, but this is progression, and it's about we, not me, right? So keep that in mind. I've been holding on to Guardian Spirit this entire fight for any kind of phases that are going to be problematic. A lot of times, for instance, I'm trying to run this add-in, and he needs to be inside the circle in order to be damaged, of course, so waiting for him to get released while all the spears are going off in front of me. If I get stunned by that and then a spear spawns right underneath my feet or something like that, having Guardian Angel there is literally a lifesaver. You don't want to be using it there, but you need to stay alive in this fight, and there's so many things that can kill you. Luckily, that was one of my few engagements with an orb, and then I jump right into the Spirit Link so I can get topped off and everything very quickly. Because at this point, we finally entered the final phase. This is the big part of the fight. We are always running our tornadoes back to the edge of the throne, just as far back as we can get them. I didn't get it on the first wave, so I'm suspecting that I'm going to get it on the second wave, and of course I do. And I'm just trying to get as good of a positioning as possible and not stand on the other people. It's always important to know who you need to keep track of, because I accidentally gripped one of our range there, but he just got out in time. So right here we're emulating the exact same positioning for the original markers that you have to stand in, of where we all stack up if we have a certain branding part. So again, we're running out our tornadoes as far back as possible. My Symbol of Hope came off cooldown, and we found a good time where I could plant and just start spamming some heals. And I'm about to get the tornadoes again, so I'm just trying to put it in a corner. It's hard in a lot of cases on this fight just to be able to find a good position. So, and then you have to run back and stack with people of a similar color. So we do that, trying to keep people alive as much as possible. It looks like if I had unlimited mana, it would be great for just prayer healing spam, but all too often you find that you just need to top people off as fast as humanly possible, I kind of got lost here and dropped my tornado in kind of a bad spot, but they were able to get through it. Preparation is everything on this encounter. Preparation for where you're going to move and how you're going to be moving around. So try to keep in mind as you're moving, saying, where am I going to go next, Of course, with these branding markers, we're trying to get to the markers that we set up as best as we can. We get there just in time. Everyone's really low at this point. It's a great time for him. I wish I would have been able to use one of my holy words before I cast my hymn. Again, it's a preparation thing. At least getting the hymn off, getting people topped off in some way, shape, or form is going to be beneficial to you. One thing I wish I focused on more was my mana at this point, because I know how I am, and I need to start looking at ways that I can sacrifice myself before the fight ends, right? So maybe this would have been a good time right as we start transitioning. Just start saying, okay, maybe now is the time where I need to start sacrificing. So we're about to move to the very last part, and probably around here in a perfect scenario would be where I would absolutely want to sacrifice myself. because I'm seeing myself at 2-3% mana, and I kind of freak out, and it's saying, oh well, now I need to run into this tornado. Run into the tornado, you get bumped up, but then of course you immediately need to start casting highest HPS, most expensive spells possible, and that's prayer healing. So, thank you all for watching the video. If you guys got any kind of questions or things you'd like me to cover, definitely let me know in the comments down below. Be sure to subscribe, etc., etc. Love you guys. Catch y'all next time.